We're joined by Limerick District League Chairman Ger Smyth on what is a huge week, Ger, for Jackman Park and the League Committee obviously as well. 50th anniversary of Jackman Park is what the League is celebrating, and obviously all the clubs celebrating that anniversary too as well. You have a game against Treaty United, the Limerick Senior Soccer Club, on Friday night, a Limerick District League representative side as well. A huge occasion for everybody.
Absolutely, Aaron, and first of all I'd like to thank you for giving us this time to highlight the match coming up and what it does mean for us here in Jackman Park, and for the work the committee have done over the last few months preparing this match with Treaty United. It's really a showcase for us to be able to do this, and more so what's very important in this fact is that we've got the schoolboys, the juniors and the seniors all playing here in the one night, which is a marvellous feat for Limerick football, and I would hope that it would be supported in the way and the cause that it's been put out there for.
Yeah, absolutely. We know it's a great night. I suppose just to focus on Jackman Park, obviously, as a whole, I suppose you've been involved now for many years yourself, Ger. You've seen probably many occasions at Jackman Park. Have you seen a lot of changes? Because obviously there's been a lot of positive changes in the ground in the last few years.
Adrian, I've been involved in junior soccer all my life, but as regards being involved with the Limerick District League, it's probably only about 7 years that I've been here. But watching what's gone on over here in the last couple of years and what's been done before I came in is absolutely tremendous. I do know the addition was the first edition was probably the stand, and then they came along and they had the second date, the new opening up here on the station side, which was a big help, which made us develop a big car park up at the other end for visiting teams and for matches like Tui Cup or Lawson Cup, where players and supporters can come in and park in the privacy of the ground. The building obviously was extended, which was great work. The people that were first to go ahead with this 50 years ago and purchase it are great credit to them people, and it's only for them people taking on the initiative back then that we couldn't have continued to today. But my predecessor, Christy Dwyer, and his committee have done absolutely Trojan work in the last couple of years in bringing on the field, the boundaries, the scoreboard. In a matter of fact, today we only installed new flagpoles, and the condition of the place is exceptionally good, and it's those people that have made Jackman Park what it is today, from 50 years ago to today, and they're the people we need to thank for what went done over the last 5 decades.
Yeah, it's obviously really important to mark that occasion. I suppose the biggest compliment you can pay Jackman Park is, obviously we know it's been the home of junior soccer for all that period of time effectively, but the biggest compliment, I suppose, is that I've obviously played at junior level myself, and as well as many people, is that at the end of the year everyone's looking for that cup final day out in Jackman Park. It still has that, aura about it, I suppose.
Oh, it is, yeah. And excuse me, when we're doing the gates there in the evenings and the matches come in, and you can see it, the first thing the young lads and the players that's come in, the junior players, they'll comment on the place and the feeling that you can feel through them what they're thinking of going out and playing in Jackman Park, maybe a frosty night, a wet night, a summer's night. And every young fella has the same ambition to come down and play in Jackman Park at some stage of their career.
I suppose you mentioned as well the several changes that have been made throughout it. We're in the committee room as such here now, where it's obviously developed a lot. The dressing rooms probably was a particular bugbear for a while, maybe not so much the home dressing room, but the away dressing room was tight. Now you've got ample space, the space is used so well. Has been a huge improvement in that respect, and a lot of comfort now for clubs, we'll say referees even as well in the dressing rooms.
Oh yeah, the dressing rooms have been a very big improvement down here. If you look around up here, only last week we put in this desk here for the sitting committee and its officers, and around is all done up, and it's kept a very, very high standard, which would we expect and which what the clubs would expect from us, to keep it up to this standard. we got it this way, we got to keep it this way. We're in the keepers, we're in the gatekeepers, and the clubs, the 50 clubs that own this place, expect us every year when they put us in here to look after it, and that's our job, to look after it.
Yeah, I mentioned obviously you've got the Divisional Cup finals, and obviously the aspiration of every player in Limerick is to play at this ground. It's not just the Divisional Cup finals though. We have hosted some big occasions in the past. You've had Oscar Traynor finals, you've got FAI Cup, big FAI Cup games, you've got Munster Junior Cup finals. I suppose that will be the ambition of the committee, and obviously as you said, of the committee, to continue to have such great occasions and apply to have these games here in Jackman Park.
Oh yeah, it's without a shadow of a doubt. As a league, we need to see big games here, and our own local competitions are massive. But if we can take it and further out of field for junior internationals, we're more than welcome and more than capable of taking them on, because we have the ground to do it, and we have the stadium over, and our ambitions in another maybe 3 or 4 years is to try put another stand on the far side. So we're preparing all the time for bigger and better occasions down here in Jackman Park.
Yeah, and as well as junior football, as you mentioned, it is the home, but it has been, entrenched in senior soccer, maybe more so sometimes by accident than design, because you've had the times, even the League Cup final here in 2002 with Derry, with Limerick FC being hosted here. You had obviously Limerick FC being promoted here in 2012. There's been a lot, and obviously even after Thomond Park, there was a stopgap between Thomond Park and Marksfield where the team wouldn't have got a licence at the time if Jackman Park wasn't hosting it, and the league didn't allow Limerick FC at the time it was to play. And obviously Treaty United, there's been good links there. They're their opponents on Friday night with the women's playing here as well. So it's not just junior football really, it's been the saviour of senior soccer for a few years as well.
It is, yes, and it's available at the time for all those bodies that you mentioned. And unfortunately Treaty ladies played, or fortunately Treaty ladies played here for a couple of years, and our own committee were here every week out to help them out, and then they got to the Markets Field, and hopefully that they'll succeed above in the Markets Field. But this ground has been open to those people for all occasions when they came knocking at the door, and if they come knocking again, we would have to have a look at it and see what way it goes, because this ground is a magnificent area for all aspects of soccer in Limerick.
Yeah, and I suppose Treaty United being your opponents on Friday night, very important to keep the relations like that open with the senior soccer club, which I suppose hasn't always been the case in Limerick either.
No, but we have to keep lines open, and only last week we had an application down from the MFA for Treaty to play in the Munster Senior Cup, and because it's a neutral venue, they've come to us, and we've been just delighted to help them out. And hopefully within the next couple of days they'll be able to announce that they are playing their match here, and that's what we're here for. If we don't help them and they don't come to us, and if we don't help the schoolboys, we're at nothing. Football has to go from schoolboys to juniors to seniors, and I think it's where we all need to be at, pulling in the one way so that we can all help one another.
It was always going to be very difficult, to be all inclusive for Friday night in terms of club representation and player representation. You've had, obviously, rightly so, a representative from each Premier side playing in this game. Outside of that, it was almost pick it out of a hat because you couldn't pick everyone into it at the time. Are you happy, I suppose, with how many clubs and having a club from each division? Are you happy with the way you managed to do it?
We're absolutely thrilled, because at the end of the day, it was probably the fairest way all, and we had the manager that's representing us, Declan Constantine, here on the night. And as you said, we had all the Premier teams. We had three from Premier A, top three, and then we put the remainder of those into a hat for two more to represent Premier A. And each league after that was put into a hat, and a team from each was taken out. So we have all leagues being represented by one player, and that's what football is about. This wasn't just here to put a team out from the Premier League. We've got to consider every league, and I hope that will show in itself next Friday night when clubs will come and support the players from their league that's going to be here on that night to play against Treaty. That's our ambition, and it couldn't have been done in a fairer manner.
Yeah, hopefully there will be a lot of support. One very final, wide-ranging question for you. Out of all the years and out of all the games you've seen, played in, any of the likes of that, what would have been your greatest memory, I suppose, of Jackman Park in the 50 years?
My greatest memory, I suppose, when I scored a goal in this final for Southend United when we were 1-0 down to Ashling. That's my one life and love of this place, was the night I scored that goal. But I'd leave it up to Pat Hanlon and the rest of the lads on the night to fill you in on that one, Adrian.